Okay, in the morning I've presented you the result of the thing I want to mention now in a short overview. So IPTC and video metadata, how did this progress, and so what's also the internal thinking of a standardization organization like the IPTC, how to get in this direction? Let's say pre-2014, the status at IPTC was we have actually a standard NewsMLG2, which is a multimedia standard, and this includes also, of course, video. And as this has been already used by some IPTC members for video, our assumption is, well, okay, everything is okay. We don't need there to take an action in this area. In 2014, June 2014, we had in Berlin one of the IPTC photo metadata conferences, which has a focus on photo businesses in Europe. And at this event, which was also moderated by Andreas, we set the focus on moving images, moving metadata, because more and more photo businesses were extending their business to videos. And we had a discussion about that and were sticking into that, and also Pam was with us there. And actually what we heard there was, we would like to have something like the IPTC photo metadata for video. Okay, so this was a trigger. So then in October 2014, we had such an IPTC meeting, 3-day meeting, and one part was a long discussion how to deal with that. And so we said, should we adjust or adopt something existing, that is the famous BY format, or should we create something on our own, build? And always build means also a lot of resources, and also something which is a little bit isolated from other groups. And therefore we had there a long discussion about that, and the conclusion was finally define requirements and match existing standard against them, then to decide how to proceed. Okay, so this was the first step to take. And so the development experience then was, video has a role in many businesses. So it is in broadcasting, net streaming, movies, education, news, of course. So it's not that easy. Like, let's say, the photo metadata have been created primarily in the area of having either news photos or what we call now stock photography. That means nice photos which can be used to illustrate a theme. But let's say movies are quite older than videos, so there is already a long history also about metadata for that. Okay, then many existing video format standards have only a lean set of metadata properties to describe the content. So as mentioned in the morning, they have a rich set about technical metadata, but how to describe what can be seen and can be heard and what is there depicted in the video, this is quite lean. And so this would also be a challenge to include that, or to have there something for that. And for the expression of metadata, that means process for the technical expression of metadata, two standards are widely used. This is on the one hand the EBU core for standalone metadata documents, and the XMP for embedded metadata documents. So that means this was our outline, what we should consider for next steps. And the next steps were then simply that we created 3 public drafts and invited many, and in general that were, so we sent out invitation, we made this public, this draft, and we pointed at them, we had tweets about that, but we also had there 30 explicit invitations to people also mixed, so system vendors, people from organizations like PP Core, and so to ask them what they think about that. So we said it cannot be a solution only for the news and industry, and outside of that it doesn't make sense to have a view on that. Not all invited responded, but many responses reflected different businesses of the reviewers with different preferences. So this is very different. You cannot make a standard which should cover a wide area of businesses, which then finally tailored to a specific business only. So if you have something with a wide target, you also have a richer set of metadata, knowing exactly this business will use this metadata property, another business will not use it. But this is simply the compromise between specific and being wide in the design of a standard. So the conclusion was a common ground is a challenging goal, exactly for this purpose. So where to define what not by all used metadata properties should be included in such a standard. And also IPTC doesn't want to go in areas of other organizations. So there is something like BB Core, so we don't want to compete with that, but we know also that BB Core is not used everywhere, so we try to step in an area which is currently a gap or is empty. The second conclusion was the profile of the Video Metadata Hub is to leave technical properties to the existing format standards. So we said don't dig there too deep into details, leave this to the standards, then define properties with wider semantics and optional qualifiers. So this is also a facet of that, making it widely usable. For instance, creator and contributor, they were said we have only a basic definition, and then the different business areas can use their specific vocabularies for what is a creator and what is a contributor to a video in the specific business. And then mapping to other standards, overlapping or empty space. So this is what we had to watch. Is there already something which is clear, or do we facing something where they don't have anything about that? Okay. This was the sober conclusion at the end. We can't make everybody happy, but as many as possible. So this is what we were aiming at. And so this led to what I've presented this morning. And at the end to say, this is also not the end, because to clarify that, we don't say, so the video metadata group doesn't lean back now and say, job done. So what we will definitely do is that we will take next steps, what has been outlined today, to target organizations, bodies, companies, and say, is there a chance that you will use Video Metadata Hub? Could they have a role primarily for exchanging metadata? Because we know also there is a difference between internally used metadata and metadata used for an exchange. Okay, that's it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.